Before we begin this story, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Your support means everything and will help us keep bringing you stories like this. Now, let's dive right into the shocking story. It was Mother's Day morning. The sun was shining through my kitchen window, and I had set the table with a fresh white cloth, hoping my children would come home with flowers, maybe even a cake, or at least warm smiles. I was 70 years old, and I thought I had seen it all. But nothing prepared me for what my children were about to do. They arrived at noon, all three of them, James, my oldest son, Clara, my only daughter, and Michael, my youngest. I greeted them with trembling arms stretched wide, but instead of hugs, they looked at me with cold eyes. My heart dropped instantly, but I brushed it aside, thinking maybe they were just tired. Sit, I told them with a smile, forcing joy into my voice. But James sneered. Mother, today we came with a special gift for you. I brightened, holding my breath. Could it be? After so many years of struggle, could they finally be showing love? Clara leaned forward, her lips curling. Yes, Mother. Our gift is honesty. Pure honesty. Then Michael slammed his fist on the table. You've been a burden all our lives. You ruined our childhood. You stole our youth with your rules, and now you're old, you're useless, and we're tired of pretending. My hands shook. I stared at the three faces I once carried in my arms, the same children I had starved for, worked nights for, prayed for. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. This is your Mother's Day gift, James said with venom. The truth. You're worthless. The words sliced into me like 1,000 knives. My lips trembled. Tears burned my eyes. How could you say that to me? I whispered, but my voice broke. Clara leaned back with a smirk. Don't cry. We thought you'd appreciate it. We call it freedom. At least now you know how we really feel. I couldn't breathe. The room spun. Their voices echoed like cruel bells in my ears. For years, I had dreamed of Mother's Day as a celebration of love. Instead, they had turned it into my execution.
But then, something inside me snapped.
My shaking hands clenched into fists. I felt a fire rise in me that had been sleeping for too long. No, I shouted suddenly, my voice echoing across the room. My children froze, startled. They had never heard me raise my voice like that before. I will not accept this, I said, standing tall, my tears drying as anger burned them away. You think abuse is a gift? You think disrespect is honesty?
No.
This ends today. I pushed my chair back, the wooden legs screeching against the tiled floor. My heart raced. My breath came fast, but I didn't stop. I looked each of them in the eye, and for the first time, I wasn't begging for love. I was demanding respect. James stood up, his face red. Sit down, Mother. Don't start your drama. But I didn't sit. I grabbed my shawl from the chair, threw it over my shoulders, and marched toward the door. Where are you going? Clara asked, her voice sharp. Anywhere but here, I said coldly. My hands were trembling, but my legs kept moving. If you cannot treat me like a mother, then you don't deserve to call me one. I yanked the door open, the hinges creaking. The warm breeze hit my face as I stepped out, my children's stunned faces burning into my back. And then, I slammed the door shut behind me and walked straight into the unknown night, leaving them all in stunned silence. But what I did not know was that my rebellion had only just begun. Because the moment I stepped out, my life, and theirs, was about to change forever. The cool night air slapped my face as I stepped outside, my shawl fluttering in the breeze. My legs felt weak, but my spirit felt strangely strong. For the first time in my 70 years, I wasn't running toward my children. I was walking away from them. Every step I took on the lonely street echoed with rebellion. I could still hear their cruel voices in my head. You're worthless. You ruined our childhood. This is your gift. The words stabbed me again and again, but I refused to crumble.
Not this time.
My tears had dried. My heart had hardened. But as the darkness grew deeper, a sudden wave of fear crashed over me. Where was I going? I had no plan, no bag, no money. Only the clothes on my back and the pain in my chest. My home, my very own house, was behind me, but it now felt like a prison. I turned a corner, and the street was empty except for a flickering lamppost. That's when I realized I wasn't just leaving the house. I was leaving behind years of silent suffering, of bending, of swallowing pain. And now that I had rebelled, there was no going back. Suddenly, a car sped past, its headlights blinding me. I stumbled to the side, clutching my shawl. The car screeched to a halt a few meters ahead. For a moment, I thought trouble had come my way. My heart thumped in my chest. Then the driver stepped out. A man in his 50s, wearing a brown coat, hurried toward me. "Ma'am, are you all right?" he asked, concern etched on his face. I hesitated. Should I trust him? He seemed kind, but the world had taught me caution. I'm fine, I lied, even as my knees shook. "You don't look fine," he said gently. "It's late. Do you have somewhere to go?" I lowered my gaze. The truth hurt.
No.
He sighed and stepped back respectfully. "My name is Daniel. I live just down the road. I don't mean to intrude, but it isn't safe for you to be wandering out here alone. At least let me walk with you." Something in his tone disarmed me. For years, my own children hadn't spoken to me with such kindness. Slowly, I nodded.
All right.
"Walk with me." So Daniel walked beside me, not asking too many questions, not judging me. Just silent company in the heavy night. And for a moment, I felt less alone. But back at the house I had left, my children sat in stunned silence. James paced angrily. "She'll come back," he growled. "She always does." Clara laughed coldly. "And if she doesn't? Even better. That means the house is ours. She's old, weak, and dramatic. She'll crawl back begging or she'll vanish. Either way, we win." Michael smirked. "Maybe we should speed things up. If she doesn't come back tonight, we can start making plans. That house is worth a fortune." Their eyes gleamed with greed. What they didn't know was that I, their mother, had ears sharper than they imagined. And soon, their plans would backfire in ways they couldn't dream. Meanwhile, Daniel led me to a small bench in the neighborhood park. We sat beneath a tree, the night crickets singing all around us. "You don't have to tell me," he said softly, "but I can see the hurt in your eyes. I know what betrayal looks like." My lips trembled. Betrayal, that was the word. It was exactly what I felt. And for the first time that night, I let my tears fall. "It was Mother's Day," I whispered, "and my children, they called abusing me a gift." Daniel's jaw tightened. His eyes flashed with disbelief. "They said that to you?" "Yes," I sobbed. "All I wanted was love. All I wanted was one day of kindness. Instead, they broke me." Daniel shook his head, anger in his voice now. "No mother deserves that. No human deserves that." We sat in silence for a while. My heart still bled, but his presence was like a bandage. I didn't know him well, but at that moment, he was the only one who seemed to care. "I don't know what I'll do now," I whispered. "Where will I go? I have nothing." But Daniel looked at me steadily. "You have more than you think. You have courage. Tonight you rebelled. That is the first step." His words lit a tiny spark in me. Courage.
Yes.
Maybe I had lost my children, but perhaps I hadn't lost myself. Just as I felt a sliver of hope, the sound of footsteps echoed in the park. Shadows emerged. My heart leapt into my throat.
Who was it?
3 men appeared, their faces hidden under hoodies. One of them sneered. "What do we have here?" An old woman crying on a bench. Daniel immediately stepped in front of me, shielding me. "Keep moving," he warned, his voice firm. But the men laughed. "Or what? What's she to you? Looks like easy money to me." Fear gripped me. My rebellion had brought me strength, but now danger stood right before me. Daniel's fists clenched, his body tense. The men stepped closer, their shadows swallowing us. My breath hitched. Would Daniel be able to protect me? Would I survive this night? And just when one of the men reached out his hand toward me, the tallest of the 3 men stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the park ground. His eyes gleamed under the dim lamplight. "Old lady," he said, pointing at me, "hand over your shawl and whatever else you got. Quick." My heart pounded so hard, I thought it would burst through my chest. My hands clutched the shawl tighter as if it was my only shield. Daniel's voice cut through the night like steel. "She doesn't have anything. Leave her alone." The men laughed. One of them spat on the ground. "And what are you going to do about it? You think you can fight all three of us?" I could see Daniel's jaw tighten. His fists were clenched, and for a moment, I feared he might try to take them on. But then he leaned closer to me and whispered, "Stay behind me, no matter what." My knees were shaking, but I nodded. The men circled us slowly, like wolves around prey. The tallest one lunged toward me, but Daniel shoved him back so hard he stumbled. "That's enough," Daniel barked. The other two advanced, and the tension snapped like lightning. Daniel swung first, striking one of them in the jaw. The man fell back with a grunt. The second one rushed him, and they both crashed to the ground, fists flying. I screamed, my voice echoing through the park.
"Stop. Please stop."
But no one heard me. The third man, the tall one, ignored the fight and turned toward me. "You think you're safe behind him? Hand it over now," he snarled. I froze. My breath was caught in my throat. He grabbed my arm, his grip rough and painful. I cried out. Before he could pull me, Daniel rose to his feet, blood trickling from his lip. He shoved the man so hard that he stumbled into the bench. "You will not touch her," Daniel shouted, his voice raw with fury. The men looked at each other, clearly not expecting a fight from someone who looked like an ordinary man in a brown coat. They cursed under their breath. Finally, the tallest one spat again and growled, "This isn't over." They backed away, muttering threats as they disappeared into the shadows of the park. My chest heaved as I clung to my shawl, my whole body trembling. Daniel turned back to me, his hands slightly bruised. "Are you hurt?" he asked quickly. I shook my head, though my arm ached from the man's grip. Tears streamed down my face, but these were not tears of weakness. They were tears of relief. You protected me," I whispered. Daniel gave a small, tired smile. "It's what any decent human should do." I sat heavily on the bench, trying to catch my breath. My rebellion had taken me away from my children's cruelty, but I hadn't expected danger to come so quickly. If Daniel hadn't been there, what would have happened to me? The park was quiet again, but my mind was not. I thought of James, Clara, and Michael sitting comfortably at home, perhaps laughing, perhaps plotting, while I was here fighting for my dignity and safety. A strange mix of pain and strength filled me. I realized then that leaving the house wasn't the end of my rebellion. It was just the beginning. Daniel sat beside me, wiping a bit of blood from his lip. "You should not be out here alone tonight," he said. "Do you want me to call someone? Family? Friends?" I turned my face away. My children were no longer the people I could call. My friends had drifted away with age. My voice cracked. "I have no one." Daniel's gaze softened. "Then, tonight, you have me. Come on, I'll take you somewhere safe." I hesitated. "But I don't want to be a burden." He shook his head firmly. "You are not a burden. You're a human being who deserves care and respect. Let's go." Slowly, I rose to my feet, leaning on his steady arm. Together, we walked out of the park toward the quiet streets. For the first time in years, someone was walking beside me, not rushing me, not insulting me, not using me. Just walking with me. But back in my home, my children's laughter grew louder. James leaned back in the chair, sipping from a glass. "Well, it looks like the old woman finally grew a spine," he said mockingly. "But she'll be back. Where else can she go?" Clara flipped through a stack of old papers she had found in the drawer. "And if she doesn't come back, then we speed things up. Look at these documents. Mother never updated her will. That means everything still belongs to her name. If we play this right, it'll all be ours sooner than later." Michael grinned. "So what do we do? Wait for her to crawl back, or push her out completely?" James slammed his hand on the table. We don't wait. By tomorrow, we start making moves. The house, the savings, everything. If she wants to rebel, let her. We'll strip her of everything." Their wicked laughter echoed through the house. They didn't know that I was alive and stronger than they thought. They didn't know that my rebellion would grow into a storm that would shake them to their core. And as Daniel led me gently down the road, I promised myself one thing: I would never let them destroy me again. But then, just as we turned the corner, walking toward Daniel's street, we saw flashing lights. 2 police cars were parked outside his house. Officers stood at the door. Daniel froze. My breath caught. "What's happening?" I whispered. Daniel's face darkened. "I don't know," he muttered. The officers turned toward us the moment they saw him. One of them raised a hand. "Sir, we need to speak with you. Now." I looked at Daniel, my heart pounding. What could this mean? Was the only man who had helped me tonight now in trouble himself? The night had already given me betrayal, danger, and fear. But this was something I had never expected. If you're engaging with the story, please subscribe to the channel and comment where you are watching from. Let's reach 1,000 subscribers together and keep this story alive. The red and blue lights flickered across Daniel's worried face. His steps slowed, his grip on my arm tightening slightly, as if he was trying to protect me even from the sight of the officers. My heart pounded harder with each second. The police officer nearest to us stepped forward. "Are you Daniel Clark?" he asked firmly. Daniel's throat moved as he swallowed. "Yes, I am. What's this about?" The second officer held up a folder. "We received a report of disturbance and possible assault near the park." His sharp eyes flicked toward me. "Is this the woman you were with?" I froze. Images of the 3 men in hoodies came flooding back, their cruel laughter still echoing in my mind. My voice shook as I spoke. "Yes, officer. But it wasn't Daniel. He saved me. He fought those men off when they tried to hurt me." Daniel nodded quickly. "That's right. She's telling the truth. 3 men attacked us, but they ran before anyone else showed up." The officer scribbled something into his notepad, his expression unreadable. "And you expect us to believe that 3 men just decided to attack an old woman and a passerby for no reason?" I clenched my shawl tighter. "It's true. They tried to take my things. If not for Daniel, my voice cracked. I don't even want to imagine what would have happened." The younger officer glanced at me more kindly, but the older one still seemed suspicious. He turned back to Daniel. "You'll need to come down to the station and give a full statement. And we'll need her too," he said, pointing at me. My knees felt weak. The station? The thought of being dragged into more chaos after the nightmare of my children's cruelty made me dizzy. But Daniel placed a steadying hand on my shoulder. "It's all right," he said softly. "We'll tell them everything. Don't be afraid." So, under the flashing lights, they guided us into the police car. As the door closed behind me, I stared out at the empty street, my stomach churning with dread. Would this night never end? At the station, the officers separated us. Daniel was taken into one room, and I was placed in another with bright lights overhead and the smell of old paper and coffee filling the air. A female officer sat across from me. "Ma'am," she began, "I need you to tell me exactly what happened tonight." I swallowed hard, my fingers twisting in my lap. I was walking, alone. Then 3 men came from the shadows. They mocked me, grabbed me, tried to take my shawl. Daniel stepped in. He protected me. He fought them until they ran away. The officer's pen scratched quickly against the paper. "And you're sure Daniel didn't know these men? This wasn't an arranged fight?" My eyes widened. "Of course not. He's a good man. He risked himself for me." The officer studied me for a long moment before finally nodding. "All right. We'll check the park for evidence, but your story matches what he told us. You can rest here while we finish the paperwork." Relief washed over me like a gentle wave. For once, my voice had been enough. For once, someone listened. After what felt like hours, Daniel rejoined me in the waiting area. His lip was swollen, and his knuckles were scraped, but his eyes still carried that calm strength. "They're letting us go," he said. I exhaled deeply. Thank God. We stepped out of the station together, the night air cooler than before. The streets were quieter now, almost peaceful. For a brief moment, I felt safe again. "Come on," Daniel said. "Let's go to my place. You need rest." But as we walked, a chill ran down my spine. Something inside me whispered that the night wasn't done with me yet. And I was right. Back at my home, James paced restlessly in the living room. Clara scrolled on her phone, while Michael scribbled notes on a pad. "Do you think she's coming back?" Michael asked. James scoffed.
No.
"She's too proud now. But it doesn't matter. By morning, we'll make our move. The house is sitting there empty. It's time we claimed what's ours." Clara looked up, her eyes cold. "And if she does come back?" James smirked. "Then we'll make her regret ever walking out. If she wants to rebel, we'll crush her rebellion once and for all." Their laughter filled the room, sharp and cruel. They didn't know I was alive, that I was stronger than they believed. But their plan was already in motion, and it was darker than anything I imagined. When Daniel and I finally reached his home, it was quiet again. The police cars had left. The house was small but warm, with books stacked on shelves and a faint smell of coffee lingering in the air. "You can rest in the spare room," Daniel said. "It's not much, but it's safe." I looked around, my chest tightening.
Safe. That was all I wanted now. Safety.
But as I lowered myself onto the bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind spun. My children were not done with me. They would come for me, not with hugs or apologies, but with greed sharper than any knife. And I would not be their victim again. The clock ticked softly in the room. My eyes grew heavy. Just as I began to drift into sleep, a loud knock shattered the silence.
Bang. Bang. Bang.
Daniel rushed to the door. I sat up in alarm, my heart racing. Through the window, I saw dark silhouettes outside. And then a harsh voice shouted, "Police! Open up immediately." My blood turned cold.
What could they want now?
Had Daniel's kindness dragged him into deeper trouble? Or was this connected to me, to the rebellion I had begun? I clutched my shawl as fear surged through me. The rebellion had started, but was I ready for the war that was about to follow? The room was dead silent after my words. For the first time, my children looked at me not as their fragile mother, but as someone they didn't fully understand. My hands trembled, but my voice was steady. "If you think I will sit here and let you treat me like dirt, you are mistaken." Clara was the first to break the silence, her face twisted with disbelief. "You've lost your mind, Mom. Who do you think you are talking to us like that? Without us, you wouldn't even survive a week." Her words stung like a whip, but I kept my ground. "Then I will learn to survive. I am tired of living like a prisoner in my own house." Milton smirked, leaning against the wall as if amused. "Oh, really? And where exactly do you think you'll go? You don't have money. You don't have friends. You're old. Stop pretending you can rebel against us." Every word he spoke was meant to break me, but strangely, it did the opposite. His mockery only lit a fire inside me. My chest rose and fell with sharp breaths, and my voice grew louder. "I may be old, but I am not dead. You may have taken my money, my peace, and my dignity, but you will not take my will to fight." For the first time in years, I saw a flicker of hesitation in Milton's eyes. Clara, however, stepped closer to me, her face flushed with anger. "If you ever try to stand against us, you'll regret it, Mother. Do you hear me? Regret it." Her words cut like a knife. My daughter, whom I had once cradled in my arms and fed with love, was now standing inches from me with hatred in her eyes. I wanted to collapse, to give in, but something inside me wouldn't let me. The evening passed in silence after that. They ignored me completely, speaking to each other but not to me, slamming doors, laughing loudly as if to remind me that they were in control. My heart was heavy, but I knew a storm was brewing inside me, a storm that would not die down. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, tears streamed down my cheeks. Memories of when they were little flooded my mind. Milton begging for bedtime stories, Clara running to me when she scraped her knees. How had those children grown into such cruel adults? I whispered to myself in the darkness. I will not let them break me. The next morning, the house was filled with tension. Milton barked orders, as though he owned the place. Clara walked past me without a word, her coldness sharper than any slap. But then something unexpected happened. A loud knock echoed on the front door. It wasn't the postman. It wasn't the neighbors. It was a man in a black suit carrying an envelope. He handed it to me, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "This is for you, Mrs. Parker. It's very important." Milton snatched the envelope before I could even open it. He tore it open, scanning the words quickly. His face drained of color. Clara leaned over his shoulder, and her mouth fell open. I pushed myself up from the chair, fear and curiosity tightening my chest. "What is it? What does it say?" Milton's lips quivered as he crumpled the paper in his fist. "It's none of your business, Mother," he shouted. But I saw it, the fear in his eyes. Clara screamed at him. "How could you let this happen? We're finished if she finds out." My heart raced. My children had been hiding something from me, something big. And now, with this mysterious letter, I knew the truth was about to unravel. And just as I was about to snatch the crumpled paper from Milton's hand, he raised his arm and shouted, "Don't you dare, Mother." The tension was suffocating. My life was about to change in ways I could never imagine. Milton's voice thundered across the room as he held the letter high above his head. "Don't you dare touch this, Mother." His hand shook, and for the first time, he looked less like the proud son who controlled everything and more like a frightened man whose secrets were slipping away. But I refused to shrink back. My body trembled, yet my steps were steady as I walked toward him. "Give me that letter, Milton. It was addressed to me. Whatever it says, I have a right to know." Clara rushed forward, standing like a shield between us. "Don't push your luck, Mother. You've already caused enough trouble. Sit down before you embarrass yourself." I stood tall, though my knees ached and my heart raced. "I am not afraid of being embarrassed. I am afraid of being silent while you destroy everything. Now give me the letter." Milton's face turned red with rage. He shoved the crumpled paper into his pocket and stormed into the kitchen, slamming the door so hard the walls rattled. Clara followed him, hissing like a snake. "We can't let her see it. If she finds out, everything falls apart." Their whispers grew faint behind the closed door, but my ears strained to catch every word. I crept closer, leaning against the wall. "She can't know about the debt," Milton muttered harshly. "If she finds out we used her savings as collateral, she'll never forgive us."
Debt?
Collateral? My mind spun. So that's what this was about. My children hadn't only stolen my money, they had gambled it away on something risky. "We'll fix it," Clara hissed.
She's weak.
"She'll believe anything we tell her." My chest tightened with fury. Weak? They thought I was weak. They thought I'd close my eyes and let them keep crushing me?
No.
That letter was mine, and whatever truth it held, I was ready to face it. I pushed the kitchen door open with more strength than I knew I had. The sudden slam made them both jump. Clara's face twisted with shock. Milton's eyes widened like a cornered animal. "Give it to me," I demanded, my voice sharp as steel.
"Now."
Milton stammered. "Mother, you don't understand." "I understand enough." I cut him off. "You've stolen from me, lied to me, and mocked me. This ends now. Hand me that letter." The air grew so thick I could barely breathe. For a moment, Milton looked as if he might cave, but then his jaw tightened. He yanked the letter from his pocket, ripped it into pieces, and threw the shreds into the sink. The sound of tearing paper was like thunder in my ears. "No!" I screamed, rushing forward, but Clara held me back. "You don't need to see it, Mother. Trust us. We're handling it." I stared at the shreds in the sink, my hands trembling with rage. The truth was gone, or so they thought. But deep inside, I knew the fight was only beginning. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my chair by the window, staring at the moon, my mind churning. If they thought ripping a letter would silence me, they were wrong. I was old, but I wasn't powerless. Somewhere out there was another copy of that letter, and I would find it. Morning came with heavy footsteps down the hallway. Milton entered the living room, his face cold. Mother, from today on, you stay out of our business. Do you hear me? Don't ask questions. Don't open doors. Don't speak to strangers. If you do, he leaned closer, his breath hot with anger, you'll regret it. His threat hung in the air like smoke. I gripped the arms of my chair, forcing myself not to shake. He wanted me to fear him. Instead, I whispered in my heart, you'll regret underestimating me. But just as I thought the storm had quieted, a loud knock boomed on the door again. Clara rushed to the window and peeked outside. Her face drained of color. It's the same man in the black suit, she whispered. Milton's face twisted with panic. Don't let him in. But it was too late. The door swung open, and the man stepped in, his gaze sharp and unflinching. In his hand was another envelope. He looked straight at me, ignoring my children, and said, Mrs. Parker, I was told to give this directly to you. And this time, no one else will touch it. My heart pounded as I reached out for the letter. Milton lunged forward, but the man's strong arm shoved him back. I clutched the envelope with trembling fingers, staring at it as though it were a lifeline. I tore it open, my eyes darting over the words. My throat tightened. My chest ached. The truth was worse than I had imagined. I gasped, covering my mouth. Clara shouted, What does it say? Tears filled my eyes as I looked at my children. How could you do this to me? I whispered. Their faces went pale. They knew I had seen it. The truth they fought to hide was now in my hands. And before I could speak another word, Milton lunged toward me, his fist raised in anger. Milton's fist hung in the air, his face twisted with rage, but just before it could come crashing down, the man in the black suit caught his arm mid-swing. The force of it made Milton stumble backward, his eyes wide in shock. Enough, the man thundered, his voice echoing through the house. You dare raise your hand against your own mother? Shame on you. For the first time, Milton looked small, like a boy caught stealing cookies, but Clara rushed to his side, her voice shrill. Who do you think you are, barging into our house and lecturing us? Get out. The man stood tall, his presence filling the room. My name is Mr. Walker, and I represent the very people you owe. Your debts are bigger than you can imagine. And unless Mrs. Parker knows everything, you both will soon lose more than this house. Clara's jaw dropped. Milton's face drained of all color. They looked at each other, panic flashing between them. My hands trembled as I clutched the letter, my eyes scanning the words again. It was true. They had used my name, my house, and my savings as collateral for a loan they could never repay. And if it wasn't settled soon, everything would be taken away, my home, my safety, my future. Mother, Clara began, her voice suddenly sweet, dripping with false kindness.
You don't understand.
We only did this for you. We wanted to improve the house, to make your life better. Liar! I shouted, my voice breaking. You call this a gift? You steal from me, you abuse me, and now you would leave me on the streets? No more, Clara. No more, Milton. This ends today. Milton lunged at me again, but this time Mr. Walker shoved him back against the wall so hard the picture frames rattled. If you touch her again, you'll answer not only to me, but to the law. Clara's face twisted, her composure cracking. Mother, don't you see? Without us, you're nothing. Do you think this stranger cares about you? He doesn't. He only cares about the debt. You're too old to fight. Give it up. But instead of shrinking, I rose from my chair, my body trembling yet unbroken. If I am too old to fight, then why are you both so afraid of me knowing the truth? You are the ones who are nothing without me. And today I take my power back. The words poured out of me like fire, and for the first time, my children looked at me with something close to fear. But then Milton sneered, pushing Mr. Walker aside with a sudden shove. Enough of this nonsense. If we lose this house, we'll make sure you go down with us, Mother. Don't think you can walk away clean. The threat chilled my blood. Clara grabbed a vase from the table, raising it high above her head. If you don't hand over that letter right now, We'll make sure you never speak again." The vase gleamed in the dim light, ready to shatter. Mr. Walker stepped forward, but Clara's wild eyes locked onto me, her hand shaking, her anger spilling over. And in that split second I knew this was no longer about money. This was about survival. The vase came swinging down toward me with full force. What do you think will happen next? If you're still following this intense story, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and stay tuned for the next part. The vase whistled through the air, its sharp edge glinting as it came down toward my head. I froze, my heart stopping in my chest. But just before it struck, Mr. Walker lunged forward and caught Clara's arm mid-swing. The vase slipped from her hand and smashed against the floor, shards scattering like angry stars across the room. "Enough!" Mr. Walker roared, his grip firm as he yanked the weapon from her hand. Clara screamed, her face twisted with fury, her eyes wild as if she had lost all sense of reason. Milton rushed forward to help her, but I stepped between them, my hands raised though they trembled. "No more violence. No more lies. This ends today." Clara spat at my feet, her voice shrill. "You've ruined everything, Mother. Everything we worked for." "Worked for?" I cried, tears burning my eyes. "You call this abuse and betrayal work? You've stolen from me, broken me, and still you dare call it love? If this is love, I don't want it anymore." For the first time, my words silenced them. Milton shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting to Mr. Walker, then to the broken glass at his feet. Clara's lips quivered as though she wanted to say more but couldn't. Mr. Walker stood tall, his eyes sharp. "Mrs. Parker has every right to know the full truth, and if you continue this madness, the authorities will be involved." Milton's anger flickered into desperation. He rubbed his forehead, muttering, "You don't understand. We had no choice. We were drowning in bills. The loan sharks were threatening us. We only used her name because—" "Because what?" I snapped, my voice stronger than I thought possible. "Because you thought I was too old and weak to fight back? Because you thought my silence was permission to destroy me?" The words hit him like blows. Clara sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands, sobbing. "We didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered. "We thought we could fix it before you found out." But my heart was shattered. The children I raised with love had turned into strangers I barely recognized. And yet, deep down, I realized something important. My silence had fed their cruelty. By staying quiet, I had given them permission to treat me this way. Mr. Walker placed a hand on my shoulder. "Mrs. Parker, the decision is yours. You can choose to protect them and risk losing everything, or you can stand up and fight for your rights." The room grew still. Clara's sobs filled the silence. Milton's heavy breathing hung in the air, and my pulse thundered in my ears. For the first time in years, the choice was mine. I straightened my back, wiped the tears from my cheeks, and whispered, "I will fight." Milton's head snapped up, his face red with rage. "Don't you dare. If you fight us, you're not just our mother anymore. You're our enemy." His words cut through me like a blade, but I didn't flinch. My children had declared war on me, and now there was no turning back. The air was tense, the shattered glass on the floor a reminder of how close we had come to disaster. Clara's sobs grew louder, Milton's fists clenched tighter, and Mr. Walker's eyes hardened with resolve. Then, without warning, Milton stormed toward the door, yanking it open. "If you want to fight, Mother, you'll get one. But you won't like how this ends." The door slammed behind him, the sound echoing through the house like a warning bell. Clara looked up at me with tears streaking her face. "Mother, please don't do this. You don't know what Milton is capable of." Her voice trembled with fear, and in that moment, I realized something chilling. Milton wasn't just angry, he was dangerous. And now I wasn't only fighting for my dignity, I was fighting for my life. The house felt like a ticking time bomb after Milton stormed out. Clara sat on the couch, her body trembling, her eyes darting toward the door every few seconds. Mr. Walker stood tall near me, his face sharp with concern. "Mrs. Parker," he said softly, "your son isn't done. He's gone to make his move." You must be ready.
My heart pounded like a drum in my chest.
My hands shook, but I clenched them together. I have been ready my whole life, I whispered. I just didn't realize it until now. The clock on the wall ticked louder and louder, filling the silence. Clara finally spoke, her voice hoarse. You don't understand, Mother. Milton, he's not the same anymore. He has friends. Dangerous people. If you go against him, they'll come after you too. Tears ran down her face, but I couldn't tell if it was guilt, fear, or both. I raised you better than this, I said, my voice heavy with sorrow. I gave you my love, my sacrifices, my everything. And this is how you repay me? By selling me out to men who could take my life. Clara sobbed harder, burying her face in her hands. Mr. Walker stepped forward, his jaw tight. You need protection, Mrs. Parker. But more than that, you need to make a choice tonight, whether to stay silent and remain their prisoner or to rebel once and for all. Before I could answer, the front door burst open. Milton stormed back inside, his face wild with fury. Two men followed him, both tall, dressed in black, their eyes cold as stone. My breath caught in my throat. Clara screamed, scrambling to her feet. Milton, no. Don't do this. Shut up. Milton barked. His eyes locked onto me, burning with rage. You had to push me, didn't you, Mother? You had to rebel. Well, now you'll see what rebellion costs. The two men stepped forward, their presence suffocating the room. Mr. Walker moved to shield me, his fists clenched, ready for a fight. Milton sneered, pacing like a predator. Give me the letter. Give me everything you've learned. If you don't, I swear you won't live to see another Mother's Day. The threat sliced through the air like a blade. My knees wobbled, but I refused to collapse. Slowly, I rose from my chair, every bone in my body screaming with pain, but my spirit stronger than ever. No, I said firmly, my voice steady though my heart thundered. You've taken enough from me, Milton. My money, my peace, my dignity, but you will not take my will to fight. Not anymore. The room fell silent. For the first time, Milton blinked, as if shocked that I dared to defy him. Don't test me, Mother, he hissed. But I did not back down. I stepped closer, the letter clutched tightly in my hand. You call abuse a gift. You call betrayal love. You think I am weak. But hear me now, Milton Parker. I would rather lose everything than bow to your cruelty. The two men shifted uneasily, glancing at one another. Clara, sobbing, fell to her knees. Please, Milton, stop this. Please. Mr. Walker moved closer to me, his voice low but strong. She's not alone anymore. If you touch her, you'll answer for it. To the law, to the debt collectors, to the world. Milton's jaw clenched. He raised his hand, pointing directly at me, his face contorted with rage. Fine. If you want war, Mother, then war is what you'll get. He turned sharply, signaling the two men. They hesitated, then followed him out the door, leaving Clara collapsed on the floor, trembling. The door slammed shut. The house shook with the sound. I sank back into my chair, my chest heavy, my heart aching. I had stood my ground, but the war wasn't over. Mr. Walker placed a hand on my shoulder. You did well tonight, Mrs. Parker. But Milton won't stop here. The battle has only begun. I nodded slowly, my eyes fixed on the broken vase, shards still scattered on the floor. My children had called abuse a gift. They thought I would stay silent forever. But this Mother's Day, I had rebelled. And I would keep rebelling until I was free. The screen of life lessons burned in my mind. Silence gives power to cruelty. But courage breaks chains. As the night swallowed the house, I whispered to myself, I will not be broken. Not today. Not ever again. Thank you for staying with me through this powerful story. If you've made it this far, you already know this wasn't just about a mother and her children. It was about respect, courage, and dignity. On that Mother's Day, when my children thought abuse was a gift, I could have stayed silent. I could have continued living in fear. But silence only feeds cruelty. The moment I stood up and rebelled, I found my strength again. And that is the lesson I want you to take away from this story. Never let anyone, not even the ones closest to you, strip away your worth. Family is supposed to protect, not destroy. Love is meant to heal, not wound. If you are facing something similar, know this: you are stronger than you think. You have the right to stand up, to speak, and to protect your dignity. Before you go, please subscribe to this channel and help us reach 1K subscribers. Comment below and tell us where you are watching from. I love seeing our community come together from all around the world. And remember, you are never too old, too weak, or too broken to rise up. Just like I did, you too can say, "I will not be broken." Until next time, thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay brave, and never stop fighting for your dignity.